What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some insane battles in the Open Great League submitted to the channel by Ripley320, who's running the full Deino evolution line, which of course all received the Dragon Breath rework this season. Now I'm sure someone has already left a comment saying, my Wigglytuff loves to see this team, and yes, obviously it does, but this trainer actually has fun playing in the Go Battle League, so who is the real winner? Anyways, with that being said, I think I've thrown enough shade at Wigglytuff users already. We haven't even started battling. Let's get into the question of the day. What is your favorite pseudo legendary evolution line and why? Let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, let's get into the battles now. As we go into the first battle, leading Wireless into Shadow Kanto Marowak. We are going to stay in this matchup here, and we will go straight for a Body Slam, making sure to get off the charge speed before they throw a Bone Club, forcing them to make the first decision. Do they want to shield? And the opponent does in fact shield. They fire off the Bone Club, and we are not going to reach another Body Slam, so potentially I would have preferred to see a swap out there into our Deino, because now unfortunately we don't have the stat product. We end up losing CMP, but the opponent throws straight away. We go for the Body Slam. Body Slam is going to connect, and now we're going to swap into our Shadow Hydreigon. We actually don't take any mud type damage whatsoever. They come in with a Corviknight, and this is actually an okay matchup for us. We can spam these Brutal Swings. Brutal Swing, going to do decent damage here, and the opponent does throw straight away. At this point, we're going to shield the first Air Cutter. Air Cutter is not going to give them the boost. We're now going to look to throw once again, overfarming ever so slightly, firing off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing again on CMP. Doesn't quite get the KO there, which is really unfortunate. Air Cutter grabs the final shield, and they've got a Lapras in the back, so we're going to need to make a catch, and we swap out, and the opponent forced to throw energy. The opponent full sent the Ice Beam there. That was a catch, and now we are going to bait with a Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing won't get the KO from this range, but it does grab the final shield. Now we can full send a Dragon Pulse, and Dragon Pulse certainly going to be taking out that Lapras. They come back in with the Corviknight. We're able to Dragon Breath farm them down, and we're able to take that game. Heading into the next battle, we're going to see Corviknight in the lead this time around, so this is still a fine matchup for us. We're going to no-shield this. I assume in most battles we are going to save both shields for the Shadow Hydreigon because it has the highest damage output, but also is the most frail. We're going to go for that Dark Pulse, dealing decent damage. We should still be able to tank another Air Cutter here. Air Cutter does get the boost this time around, but we are still able to reach a second Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse number 2, going to be shielded, so this time we do swap out. We are not going to give any extra farm here. The opponent going to fire off yet another Air Cutter before swapping, unfortunately, into Carving. There is literally nothing we can do there, and so we just concede the match. Potentially, if Hydreigon had Flash Cannon, we had a chance there, but we didn't. So either way, into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Kanto Marowak once again, and once again, going to go for that Body Slam straight away. The opponent fires off the Bone Club, and it looks like this time we actually reached the Body Slam, so potentially we just thought we'd get to the Body Slam the previous time, which in this case we actually did, so that is much better for us. We can come in with the Shadow Deino, they fire off the Bone Club, now we can come in with Hydreigon, snipe with the Dragon Breath damage, but they've got a second Mud Slapper. What the heck is this team? Alright, well, we're going to go straight for a Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse connects, it does massive damage there, and we are now, of course, going to have to use a shield. They fire off the Body Slam. The opponent's going to have a Shadow Talonflame in the back. We can reach the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing, going to grab the final shield, and now it's all up to Deino. The opponent going to be firing off the charge move. We need to shield this. The opponent fires off a Flame Charge. Flame Charge is going to boost their attack here, but Crunch coming through. Crunch nearly gets the KO. Unfortunately, doesn't quite, but we get that Dragon Breath farm down up against both the Talonflame and the Gastrodon, and we take that game. Into the next battle, we see a Shadow Dusknoir in the lead. The opponent's going to say swap into Empoleon. We're actually just going to stay in here, fire off a Dark Pulse, and Dark Pulse connects. It does decent damage, and again, probably going to look to no-shield as Wireless. The opponent fires off the Drill Peck. We now swap into a Deino, and the opponent will reach another charge move, but Deino actually has okay-ish bulk to it. Considering its stat product and its CP, it's below 1200 CP, but we get the Dragon Breath farm down. They come back in with Dusknoir, but we're baiting with a Body Slam, and Body Slam grabs a shield, and with that bait, we just barely reach a last-second Crunch, and Crunch gets the one shot there. They come in with their final Pokemon, a Como-O, and we should be looking fine here. We've still got 2 shields, so of course, going to use the shield here as the opponent fires off the upper hand. We're actually going to swap out straight away just in case the opponent gets a debuff there with that upper hand. We reach a Body Slam grabs the final shield, and we could commit to a Dragon Breath farm down, but we've already got the Brutal Swing loaded. It gets the KO despite being resisted, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Extra Drill in the lead. The opponent's going to safe swap into a Lowland Sand Slash. That is a very interesting double steel team so far. Also double Shadow. Anyways, we are going to land a Dark Pulse. We're now going to shield as the opponent fires off the Ice Punch. And we are going to look to massively overfarm. We fire for the Body Slam. Body Slam gonna be shielded by the opponent. Unfortunately, they just barely outpace us to the next charge attack, but that's okay with us. We can come in with Hydreigon, get that Dragon Breath farm down, and the opponent running a triple Shadow Steel team. What the heck is this team? What do they do against fighting types? What do they do against Mud Slappers? Honestly, who knows? But anyways, we're gonna swap Catch the Charge Move onto our Deino as they fire off the Drill Peck. I mean, we're hardly in a position to criticize the opponent's team building as we are running the full Deino evolution line, but we get the KO with that crunch, and now we've got a Brutal Swing loaded. So Ripley 320 firing off the Brutal Swing, it gets the one shot, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see Sableye in the lead. So this is a fine matchup for us. However, they could be running Dazzling Gleam. So we're going to go straight for the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse is going to be shielded by the opponent. We're now going to swap out into our Deino. If they're running it, then fair enough. It's going to one-shot us. And unfortunately, it is a Dazzling Gleam. But we now come in with the Shadow Hydreigon. We're going to look to shield and then look to try and commit to a very aggressive Dragon Breath farm down. Shadow Hydreigon able to get that farm down there. Huge for us. And let's see what they want to do. They're going to come in with a Toxic Apex, and we're actually going to bait with a Brutal Swing. I feel like it's unlikely the opponent will be shielding here, and they don't shield, so maybe could have gone for the Dragon Pulse, but this time, full sending the Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse coming through, it's going to be no shielded, and it's also a CMP type, but we're actually going to shield here. I actually don't remember what their other Pokemon was. Oh, we haven't seen it, that's why, because it's a Shadow Swampert. So we're going to go for a Body Slam. Body Slam is going to be no shielded by the opponent. That is the correct play there. And unfortunately, all shields are down on our end. So the opponent fires off Sludge, but we are just barely able to hang on. Reach a last second Body Slam. Body Slam is going to grab the final shield, but we've got a Brutal Swing already loaded. So Brutal Swing will get the KO here, but Toxapex still a slither of HP, and unfortunately, we do end up losing that game. But into the next battle, we're going to see another Shadow Kento Marowak, so very common lead here right now. We're going to fire off the Body Slam once again, and Body Slam is once again going to be shielded. This time we're actually going to shield this just because we've realized that this matchup is a little bit iffy in the zero shield scenario. Sometimes we reach a second Body Slam, and sometimes we don't. So here we can at least get them very low. And we do force them to throw some energy anyways, so we can come in with the Hydreigon, go for that Dragon Breath farm down. The opponent's going to come in once again with a Corviknight, and this time we are going to allow them to throw first. We're still going to shield the first charge move as they fire off the Air Cutter, and Air Cutter once again does not get that boost. So we can go straight for back-to-back Brutal Swings. First one does decent damage, the second one might even grab a shield here. We already know it's barely not going to be enough damage to get the KO. We swap into our Deino, and the opponent's going to stay in with that Corviknight. The opponent fires off another Air Cutter. They still don't get a boost. They come in with a Blastoise, and here, unfortunately, we do end up throwing on alignment. We give a full rollout in for free. Crunch also doesn't really do much damage, and again, throwing on alignment there, expecting the opponent probably to just throw a charge move at this point, but unfortunately, they do not. They farmed up to back-to-back Hydro Cannons here. So the first one gets the KO. They're already at Hydro Cannon number 2. We should just barely tank this. But unfortunately, the switch clock is going to be up. They can come back in, snipe with the Corviknight. And so I guess we just end the recording there. But into the next battle, you're going to see a Dusknoir in the lead. They say swap into Shadow Dusclops. What on earth are these teams? They just don't make any sense whatsoever. Honestly, I'm going to be disappointed if we don't see a... sorry. I'm gonna be disappointed if we don't see a what's the pre-evolution called? I can't even remember. Duskull, that's the one. Yeah, I couldn't think of what it's called there. I'm gonna be disappointed if we don't see a Duskull in the back because we've seen the Dusknoir and the Shadow Dusclops already. Anyways, we are going to fire off the Crunch with the Deino. Crunch is going to get the KO there, and we can reach another Crunch into Dusknoir coming back in. Why are you coming in with the Dusknoir? Crunch ends up landing. It does decent damage there, but this is a non-Shadow. The opponent fires off the Shadow Punch, which doesn't get the KO, and they've actually got a Shadow Pidgeot in the back, which is an interesting pairing with these two. But anyways, we're going to fire off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing grabs the final shield, and we are already at yet another Brutal Swing. So Brutal Swing number 2 gets that KO. They can come back in. They actually get the Astonish farm down, but we can Dragon Breath farm them down with that Wireless, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Venusaur in the lead, so we are going to no-shield the first move as they fire off that sludge. We're now going to look to overfarm. We're actually going to bait with a Body Slam here, which is interesting. Body Slam is not going to be shielded. And then we look to throw once again here. I think we threw on CMP. Body Slam is going to grab a shield, and yes, that was a CMP tie. Honestly, I didn't realize that Zweilous won CMP up against Venusaur, so that is kind of surprising to me. But anyways, they're going to swap into Greninja, and this is a great matchup for us. We're still going to shield anyways, as the opponent is going to deal big damage, even with resisted Hydrocans. But now we've shielded, we can just settle for these brutal swings, and we can get the full Dragon Breath farm down. They're going to come in with a Bastiodon as their final Pokemon. We're going to bank a ton of energy and then swap into our Deino. We can actually probably tank a Stone Edge, and relatively comfortably as well. Unfortunately, not going to reach 2 Chartreuse here, so we're going to go for the Crunch. Crunch is going to be no-shielded, and we don't quite reach a Body Slam. Body Slam wouldn't have done much damage anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. We're going to go for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing doing decent damage here. Already at another Brutal Swing, and the opponent, if they commit to a full farm down, we're just going to keep on spamming out these Brutal Swings. So Brutal Swing number 3 coming through. It's going to be no-shielded, and we do reach another Brutal Swing, but how healthy is their final Pokemon? Brutal Swing gets the KO there, and we actually get a simultaneous KO and end up tying that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see the Deino in the lead. So, of course, not an ideal matchup for us, but they have very little fast food pressure. They need to full send a play rough to get the KO up against our Zweilous. We've got a very important call. We are going to call a bait, and the opponent does bait with that Parabolic Charge. Huge call for us. Obviously, if they go for play rough, that's an easy one-shot. It's double super effective. Unfortunately, now Body Slam's not doing as much damage because they have boosted up their defense. But the opponent, once again, going for another Parabolic Charge, allowing Zweilous to win the zero shield scenario. That is definitely a questionable play by the opponent there, but we're definitely going to take it. They come in with a Ferret. They go for that Sucker Punch farm down. We're coming in with our Shadow Hydreigon and going straight for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing, gonna grab a shield from the opponent. We are, of course, resisting the fast move damage. Definitely gonna shield the Chartreuse as they fire off a Swift. And now we're gonna swap catch the next Swift onto our Deino. The opponent, Swift, does okay-ish damage there. Deino is going to be able to reach a Body Slam, but we lose CMP here. So definitely should have thrown straight away. Swift actually gets the KO there, which is definitely unfortunate. But now I think we shield once, commit to a full Dragon Breath farm down, and hope we can beat whatever they've got in the back. The opponent's going to come in, and it's a Shadow Hypno. So, of course, we are going to resist the confusion damage. But Brutal Swing, how much damage is this going to do? We're at back-to-back, actually. And I don't believe that was a CMP tie. So Brutal Swing does big damage. And now we can win CMP with a second Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing gets the KO there. And can we Dragon Breath farm them down? Yes, of course Shadow Hydreigon can. And we're able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.